JJ, it's Bob and Tony here in Eastern Connecticut. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Hi, JJ.
Hey, Bob, Tony, how you guys doing?
We're doing fantastic, and first and foremost, JJ, our sister show, Thursday Night Tailgate, Chris Mascaro, Angelo, you know those guys well. I was fortunate enough to sit in for Angelo and talk to you this past summer. All those guys send their regards. They emailed me today and wanted to say hello.
All right, appreciate it. Those are great guys. I love visiting with them on their show.
Yeah, they're great to work with, JJ, and they love you, and they look forward to having you on again. A little bit of background on JJ Birden for our viewers. Tony, 1988, drafted in the 8th round by the Cleveland Browns, originally from Portland, Oregon, went to Oregon as a school. Played 7 seasons in the NFL for the Chiefs and the Atlanta Falcons. Had numerous Hall of Fame teammates. 244 career receptions, almost 3,500 yards, 17 touchdowns. Played in 93 games. And again, it's been our pleasure to have him on the show tonight. And JJ, before we get to a little bit of your background and get to know you for our fans a little better, what did you think about last night's game? I know you're big on KC this year, and it was a tough one, but it's not like they embarrassed themselves, and they get them again in 2 weeks, JJ.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely disappointed, but the Broncos are playing well. Obviously, Peyton is the man, and playing in Denver, I was a little bit worried about this first game, but the beauty of the NFL schedule is that they're scheduled in 2 weeks. So a couple of adjustments. You got a new game plan. You're playing in Arrowhead. I'm certain the Chiefs will definitely win the next one.
Yeah, that can't. We'll get to how it is playing in Kansas City as we speak. But as far as your background, again, JJ, you grew up on the West Coast. You go to high school and college there. My always question I usually throw out to ex-athletes, who are some of your favorite teams and players that you followed as a youngster?
Well, I guess as a youngster, I was kind of well-rounded. I was really big into track and field, so Jesse Owens and Carl Lewis. And football, I was a big Lynn Swann. That's why I wore 88. And of course, who didn't like O.J. Simpson back in the day? And Dr. J was my guy in basketball. And, I was kind of well-rounded, but it was really neat to, one day to step into the world of professional sports, because this wasn't something I was planning to do.
No kidding.
No. Wow. And I always ask our guests, Tony, as you know, about that draft day, JJ. Take us back to that day in '88 when you find out that you're selected in the NFL draft. It doesn't matter where and when. It's just a matter of, hey, somebody in the NFL wants me and I'm drafted. Take us back to that day.
Yeah, that was an interesting day because, guys, I was a track guy at Oregon, and I played football. I didn't have a great college career, but I played. I had a couple of injuries. I got to the combine. I think I kind of showed out a little bit, and I was more of a mystery track guy, But the first day of the draft, I remember arguing with my agent that I said, I'm not going to get drafted. I'm going to my classes. I just said, forget it. So I go to my classes the first day, and the second day I tried to pull it again and say, hey, I'm not going to get drafted. I'm going to my classes. And so he made me stay in my room. And but I got a call. It was really cool because, it was like, hey, kid, this is Marty Schottenheimer. And I was like, who's this? Who is this? And he's like, Marty Schottenheimer, head coach of the Cleveland Browns. I was like, is this some kind of joke? He goes, no, we just drafted you in the 8th round. I was like, oh, wow, this is real. So it was pretty exciting because I didn't expect to get drafted. I thought I'd be a free agent because I received a couple of calls. But it was a thrill to be recognized when you think how many athletes there are that play college football. But to be singled out on that day was definitely special.
And as we talk to JJ Birden, we have a collage of pictures on the TV screen at various points of his career. Tony, question for JJ.
JJ, it's an honor and a pleasure, and it's so nice to have you here tonight. And you spent those many years under Marty Schottenheimer, when the KC system. And what, in 30 words or less, not that we're going to limit you to it, what did you learn from that, and what would you take away from that experience, kind of in a nutshell?
Marty was a disciplinarian. I won't say that. Let me just say Marty was a little old school coach, kind of hardcore or whatever. And a lot of athletes at times kind of had problems with that philosophy, but not me. I've always been a hard worker. I know what I got to do. I do it. I try not to cause any issues or whatever. So I had no problems working with Marty. I enjoyed working with him. I loved the way he pushed us. I loved his sayings. He always had some little motto or whatever. But Marty had a system that worked in terms of winning games. It's too bad that he never got to the big one, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Tony and I were talking about that
we were.
before the show of JJ. I mean, you played 5 out of those 6 seasons in KC were winning seasons, a couple 11-win
So
seasons, and there just was too many good teams back then in the league, and you got so close. But I want to take you back, JJ, to that rookie season in KC, because one of the highlights was a 90-yard TD reception, and I'm sure that's something that you'll never forget in your rookie season.
Yeah, that was definitely a thrill. That was 2 games from getting off the the practice squad.
Right.
I remember I had scored my first touchdown maybe a game or 2 before, and then being on that play, I was like the 4th receiver. And what was interesting about that play, it was one of those plays where you practice all week in practice, but you didn't think it was really going to work, But what happened was Rob Thomas went in motion, and I was right behind me, and for one split second, the DBs got confused, and they just left the lane wide open. And when the ball was snapped, I just ran right through it, and DeBerg laid it up, and it was just get to the end zone as fast as you can. But that was really exciting. And I got to tell you guys, the most exciting part of that was listening to the fans just cheer and scream as you were just heading towards the end zone.
And I guess it's a good time to talk about the passion of those KC fans.
Yeah, it's quite
I go back to the Len Dawson, almost the Len Dawson days, but it's
Ernie Big Cat Ladd.
Every time we see a game at Kansas City, and I have a piece of the old turf at Arrowhead as a souvenir in my bedroom at home, believe it or not, JJ. But KC, I think it's of loudness and redness. And it's just an incredible place to play, and the passion of those fans is probably underrated as far as some NFL people are concerned.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was a great place to play. I mean, Kansas City is an awesome football town. They love their Chiefs. They represent, they support us. And when you played at Arrowhead, there was nothing more exciting than, giving the fans something to cheer about. I mean, every touchdown was a big party with 80,000 people. And I got to tell you guys, I got spoiled because when I went to Atlanta, it was a little different those first couple of years. I can remember playing like the Cowboys or Pittsburgh in Atlanta, and I thought I was playing in Dallas or Pittsburgh. They had more fans there than we did in Atlanta, so I was spoiled by the Chiefs fans. Just greatest fans for sure.
Yeah, we've heard it from various former Chiefs.
Yes.
We talked to Eddie Kennison and all those guys. Tony, question?
And, JJ, as far as your particular career with the Chiefs, you played with some great players, some Hall of Famers, and I'm curious, your impressions of a Joe Montana or a Marcus Allen, are they, obviously we look at you guys and we say, well, we're mere mortals, we're not you. Are they like a cut above the rest, and the way their abilities, the way they do things that perhaps are different than the other players?
Well, I definitely think they were a step above the average player. I mean, even getting those guys late in their career, they were still exceptional players. And Joe Montana, I immediately recognized him as a true professional just at the age of 36. The preparation he put into the game was amazing. I mean, I'm sitting there watching this guy study his plays nonstop when I'm thinking this guy's been in this offense forever. But there was a reason why, so he'd have the edge in the game. And same with Marcus, just a consummate player, worked hard, and they were leaders too. And not always vocal, but led by example. You knew that when you had these guys in your huddle, you had a shot. You had a shot to win the game.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely a highlight, guys. I got to tell you, when those guys showed up, and I remember sitting in that first huddle and looking to the left and going, okay, that's Joe Montana. And looking to the right and saying, Okay, that's Marcus Allen. Okay, am I supposed to be in this huddle? It was a reality check, but it was definitely a thrill.
And on the other side of the ball, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention Derrick Thomas, a Hall of Fame linebacker he played with. But, those were some players. And, again, I think I asked you this in the summer, JJ. You were listed at 5'9", 170-ish, and I know all the wideouts are subject to brutal hits running over the middle in the NFL. But, are there any actual advantages to being perhaps a smaller target as far as avoiding injury is concerned?
Yeah, that's a fair question, and to let you know the truth, guys, I was 157 to 162.
Soaking wet.
Yeah, I was. There was a couple times that Marty would list me like at 175 and 180 because he was like, I don't want them to know how small you are. But yeah, there was an advantage of having the size and the quickness and the speed I had because one of my talents was the ability to beat bump and run. I could beat bump and run. It didn't matter who was covering me. Because of my size and quickness, I could get that first step and make that move. And many times, I would see DB starting to back off. I remember playing Rod Woodson when they were playing man-to-man, how he would never play me bump and run. He would kind of back off, and I remember going against Dion too. So that was my talent. The disadvantage was if they got a hand on me, I was in trouble because they were usually a lot bigger and stronger than me. But I kind of made up my mind that if I'm going to play the game of football, that I can't be afraid to make the catch. I can't be afraid to go over the middle. I cannot be afraid to hit linebackers. And if they ask me to go hit Junior Seau or go catch a pass over the middle with Ronnie Lott right behind me, I was going to do it. And that's what I tried to do every single time.
Boy, you mentioned some quick guys. When Woodson, before his knee injuries and all that, and of course Deion Sanders, you're talking two of the fastest guys probably over the last 30 years, JJ, including guys like yourself. That was fun to watch.
It really was.
Just when Woodson was returning kicks, it was always, we had Tim Dwight on last year. Those kind of exciting players, that's what makes football what it is.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the thrill, guys. When I reflect back on my career, I'm like, man, I got to play with and against some of the greatest athletes to ever play the game. And you don't realize it when you're playing, but now, as you've seen all these guys voted into Hall of Fame, I'm like, yeah, I played with that guy, or I played against that guy. Mm-hmm. It was definitely a thrill and no doubt a memory for me today.
Again, we're on the phone with the former wide receiver, J.J. Birden, having a great talk with him. Tony, question.
JJ, the talk lately has been what's been going on in the NFL locker rooms as far as the rookies, the hazing, the this, the that, the incidents in Miami. And you hear so many people talking about it. You hear so many people talking about it who've never been in an NFL locker room. Can you tell us what really goes on?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. There is two different worlds. There's the world inside the locker room where only the players and the coaches know what's really going on. And then there's the world outside the locker room, of course, where they're not privy to such information. There was different parts of hazing, but you know what, guys? I never thought of it as hazing, because when I think of hazing, I'm thinking of what fraternities are doing in colleges and all that. I mean, I had to sing, I had to bring donuts for the receivers. That to me was no big deal at all. But some of this stuff I'm hearing that took place in Miami, this is a whole different scenario here. So I'm really anxious to see, as more and more comes out, what was really going on down there in that locker room.
Yeah, I totally agree. Sometimes it goes past it, and we're in a different society now, JJ, and it's kind of ironic. It goes against everything that's the team concept when you have divisiveness like that in the clubhouse.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's why it's just so weird, because all the guys know what's going on. If somebody's having some issues or whatever, everyone pretty much knows what's going on. So I can't figure out that situation, because if some of the things that are being said are true, I would think most of the guys would know that. But I don't know, though, guys, because I'm hearing coaches' names mentioned and other things. So I think a lot more is going to be revealed about that scenario.
Yeah, definitely agree. Should tell our viewers also, Tony, and just to throw this out there, I was just looking at some of JJ's other teammates. He played with both two of the best kickers in our time. Remember Nick Lowry and Morton Anderson? I mean, you can't get better than a couple of guys like that. And again, some of the teammates in Atlanta, you had guys like Jeff George, Ironhead Hayward, Jamal Anderson, very good players. But that was his last 2 years. JJ caught over 300 yards receiving each year his last 2 years in the league. But back to some of the DBs you faced. You mentioned a couple already. Tell me, JJ, who are some of the toughest cover guys, and then maybe just some of the more physical guys out there?
Yeah, I'd say, okay, when I played, I think one of the toughest cornerbacks to go against, there was two of them actually for me. It was Darryl Green and Eric Allen. And the reason why, because they were my size, was like going against yourself, Mm-hmm. So they had great speed. Dion, I think, technique-wise, was not the best, technician, but at the end of the day, guys, he was the best corner I ever faced, because whatever mistakes he made, he always could recover. I mean, always could recover, and it was one of those guys that you better bring your A game and you better make sure the throw is perfect. So playing against him, like I said, Woodson was a great corner too. But I think some of the memories go back to the safeties. I mean, when I was in KC, I spent all day trying to block Ronnie Lott and Steve Atwater and Dennis Smith, so I get my bell rung a couple times there.
Big guys and tough guys. We have a couple more minutes with JJ Birden. Tony, question?
And JJ, was it a rough adjustment for you leaving football and getting on to the next phases of your life?
No, not really. I mean, for me, guys, one, I never expected to play in the NFL. So when I got the opportunity, I took every day as a privilege and as if it was my last. My goal was to, hey, let me play at least more than the average player, 3.5 years. And then as I moved past that, every year I felt privileged. And when I got to the year 9, I realized that, I got 9 years in, I've had some injuries, I can get out semi-healthy and really enjoy the rest of my life with my family and whatever my second career is going to be. And so I made that transition. I immediately dove into the corporate world and kind of always planned for life after football. And, we've been doing okay. I mean, it's like not every player makes the millions and millions like you read about,
Right.
So you still have to plan ahead. You got to save and you got to make smart decisions, and that's what I've tried to do.
And a little more about that, these players as far as injuries. JJ, we're hearing that Tony Dorsett came out and is talking about memory issues. I talked to Eric Dickerson. I think the week after Chris and I interviewed you this past summer, we talked to Eric Dickerson, who self-admittedly is not the same person mentally. And I basically asked Dickerson, can you play 7 or 8 years in this league and get out unscathed? And he said it's totally impossible. So if you don't mind me asking, I mean, your overall health for 7 years in the league, you look like you're in good shape. I know you keep yourself in good shape, but has the game just become too physical due to the size and speed of these guys, JJ?
Yeah, it definitely has. I mean, there are definitely, side effects or cumulative trauma that a lot of us are experiencing today. I mean, even me, as I try and take care of myself as best as I can, and I've got my fair share of aches and pains and residual effects and so forth. But even today, I mean, you're looking at athletes that are working out now year-round. They're in amazing shape. They're getting bigger, they're getting faster. Training is becoming more proficient. And, you spend all day, running into guys, and they're getting bigger. They're hitting harder. So there is going to be some consequence. And it's too bad, guys, because it's a great game. But I don't know where the balance is. How do you balance it? Where is that line of still keeping it exciting but not too violent? I mean, I don't know where that is. And it's going to be a challenge for the NFL to really try to figure out that balance. Because if you play the game, you're going to get your bell rung. You're going to get hurt. It's the nature of the game. So we got to know what we're getting into when we make that decision.
That's exactly how I felt when I talked to Dickerson, JJ. After I hung up, after speaking with him, I said to myself, Hall of Famer, great memories, but it all comes down to this, the legacy is where, it's a very tough thing. And I know now we got to mention first of all, you can go to jjbirden.com, and then JJ can tell us about Team X88. Now you're dealing with the marketing and distribution of dark chocolate products. Tell us about this undertaking and where people can get more info on this stuff.
Yeah, actually, my team, Team X88 International, we actually represent a company called Isogenics, and we basically provide health solutions. If someone's looking to lose weight, we got solutions for weight loss or healthy energy or energy and performance. One of the things, guys, that I'm very passionate about is living a healthy lifestyle. As an ex-athlete, trying to maintain my health, and is also trying to give people options as well. So we have some great products and helping people really improve the quality of their life. And so, if you go to jjbirden.com, look me up. I can definitely give some information to anyone that's interested.
That's great.
It is great stuff, and we're just about out of time. JJ, first of all, it's been a pleasure speaking with you again, and again, as I said, our guys over at Thursday Night Tailgate look forward to speaking to you. We'll talk down the road again. You're always welcome on this show, and please keep in touch. Until then, our best to your family. I saw a few recipes your wife was making there, and I'm hungry now thinking about it. Some great stuff. But again, JJ, your cooperation has been appreciated, and we'll continue to stay in touch, my friend.
Continued good health and success, JJ.
All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you guys, too. Keep up the good work and enjoy the rest of the season.
You take care.
Take care.
Good night, JJ.
All right.